Hello, everybody, and welcome to My Thoughts Exactly. My special guest today is New York based cabaret artist DEB BERMAN, who's just written her first children's book, 9 Months in the Play Womb. That's womb, not room, a funny play on words. The book is wonderful. Let's get to our Zoom call with Deb, okay? Hi, Deb. Thanks for joining us today and being on the show.
Charles, it's so good to see you. I always adored you, and I haven't seen you in 3 years, and you look as handsome as ever.
And so do you. And I miss you too. We had some great times together back then in the Metro.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to talk about your book. Your book, 9 Months in the Play Womb, is a funny, charming, beautifully illustrated, and a quite educational children's book. Tell the viewers a little bit about the story of 9 Months in the Play Womb.
It would be my pleasure. This is my debut journey into writing children's books, and is an idea I had a very long time ago. And the narrator of the book is an umbilical cord, and aptly named Billy. And Billy is sort of like the butler to the embryo, the fetus inside the womb. And because he's a butler, I put a little bow tie on him, which you will see. And he makes sure the baby is taken care of in the womb by making sure it eats and it sleeps and it gets exercise. And he's the teacher. So Billy is speaking now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm attached to your belly button. Yes, this is true. But I'm also very attached to you. I connect to your belly button. One day you will see an innie or outie. Which one will it be? And then, what kind of belly button do you have?
But how did you come up with the idea of Billy the umbilical cord? Did I read something about your son having a little bit something in that?
Yes. My son was born over 2 decades ago. And in the delivery room, his father was taking tons of pictures, to my total dismay. Fast forward about a week later, I was looking at the pictures, and there was this one picture of the baby being delivered, and the umbilical cord was still attached to the both of us. So my son was about 4 years old. I was in the kitchen cooking. He was in the living room playing with his Legos. And he came into the kitchen and said, "Mom, where was I before?" And I said, "You were in the living room." And he said, "No, Mom, where was I before I came to Earth?"
Uh-huh.
I took a second, and all I said was, you were in my belly." He said, "I was in your belly?" I go, "Yes, you were in a little room called the womb." And he goes, "What was I doing in there?" And I said, you were growing. You were getting stronger and stronger so you can come to Earth." And he said, "I was in there all alone?" So he looked so scared. I started to improvise and said, "No, of course not." He said, "Who was in there with me?" And I said, "The umbilical cord."
Great.
And he went, the broccoli. And I said, "Let's just say Billy." And that's how the book in my mind came to be, but it wasn't a book. When my son was, let's just say in his 20s, moving out about 2 years ago, I was letting go of my little boy, and I started thinking about all these lovely things that happened in our lives. And I remembered Billy and those stories. And I said, I'm going to write a book so I can hold on to my baby. And that's how it came about. 20 years later, it was the longest friggin' delivery anyone ever had. It was the longest labor of love anyone ever had.
Now, have you ever written before, aside from children's books? Did you dabble in writing on other things?
I did work in publicity. I was in the music industry, working for various record companies and publishing companies. So I used to write press releases for like Julie Stein. And that's about the only experience I had. But I knew I could do it,
The book is beautifully illustrated by Deirdre Sen is her name. I'm saying that correctly? Deirdre?
Yes.
Deirdre Sen.
Yes. May I show you the book?
Yes. Hold up the cover for the audience. Great. 9 Months in the Play Womb. The
The
illustration,
inside story.
the inside story, yes. It's a fantastic, beautifully illustrated book, great story. But how did you and Deirdre get together? How did you meet?
Well, being my first time as an author, I really didn't know what to do. So I went on a site called, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Fiverr or Fiverr, Fiverr. And I discovered that they had hundreds of children's illustrators. So I went through about 200 or 300 of them, you know, till 4 a.m. So when I picked out 3, I wrote to them and I asked them each to draw me a cartoonish, sweet, wise-looking umbilical cord.
Wow.
And Deirdre was one of the 3, and I loved her umbilical cord. So I hired her. The first 2 weeks were difficult, and I couldn't understand why it was so hard until I found out she lives in Lithuania and she doesn't speak English. I created a draft of all the script and clip art, and then I would give her direction. And she would have a neighbor come over and translate what I wanted, and then she would send it to me. And it was really funny because, like, I would send her something like this, right? That was the clip art. And of course, she would send me back something like this, which is a big improvement. When I asked her to create the mom who's going to be pregnant, this is what she sent me. There's something not quite right with this mother. She does not look like a New York City 25, 35-year-old woman.
Right.
Improving. I don't know if this is true, but maybe the fashion style in Lithuania is a lot different than the fashion here in New York City. But at least that's what the mom ended up looking like and dressing like, which was more to my satisfaction. Deirdre was incredible.
Rob Lester is also credited on the cover, and I know Rob from the New York cabaret scene. He's a great guy. What was his participation in the book?
Well, Rob is a reviewer, as you know, and he's a fantastic writer. I finished about 75% of the book, and I really felt that Billy and I were way too close. I know Rob as a friend and as a fabulous writer, so I brought him in. We were meeting at a diner once a week in New York City, sitting with pages and pages of illustrations and poems. And, you know, Rob is has a whimsical style, and he was perfect. So his contributions were so good, and it was lovely to feed off somebody besides me and Billy alone. So it was me, Billy, and Rob, and I loved it. And, I had to put him on the cover because, you know, he's so clever and he helps so much.
One of the things I like about your book, it's great for an expectant mom, as you said, or on the website, I think you mentioned this, to teach their child in an easy way. They could read this book to a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old that has a brother or sister on the way, because they don't know what's going on inside mommy, right? And
Yeah. You know, I wish I told you I had this grand plan. I did not. I just told my son this silly story and he loved it. And when he was leaving, I wanted to kind of document it in history. And only when I finished it did I realize, wow, exactly what you said. This is so good for pregnant women so they know what's going on in a very entertaining, fun, and educational way, and for pregnant moms to read the story to their young other children who are going to have a sibling. And now I started marketing it to obstetricians and pediatricians, and they're using them as gifts. Oh, and I had a grandmother write to me telling me what a thrill it was for her to read to her 3-year-old granddaughter. So I'm working on a sequel about the development of the child, the 1-year-old, the 2-year-old, called From the Womb to the World.
Nice.
And then I'm working on a totally different type of story, a little older child. So I will get to it, but I want to make sure that this book is successful.
Now, if one of our viewers or many of our viewers or all of our viewers wish to get a copy of this book, how do they go about buying one? Mm-hmm.
So I don't have it on any other site except for www.playwomb.com. And on there is a lot of, I had a video, an animated video created, and I called on all my friends in the music industry. Like Jeffrey Stoner is a friend of mine who's an actor, singer, writer. He is Billy. That's how he talks, and he's a nurturing soul. And Sean Harkness, the guitarist,
Yes.
he created the composition for the video, and Joanne Halev, who's a voiceover artist and a cabaret singer, is the narrator.
Great.
And Steve Bustamante is the videographer who did a wonderful job with it. So that's all on the website.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Oh no,
Yes.
it's our time is up.
Yes, I'm so sorry. It's been a wonderful interview. Thanks again. It's fantastic having you on, and we wish you all the best with this.
I'm so glad we had this time together. I love you, Charles. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's our show. I hope you had a good time. I certainly did. Pick up a copy of Deb's book. The holidays will be here before you know it. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching My Thoughts Exactly, and see you next week. Oh, and thanks to all my new subscribers. Bye.